All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to LeadUpTeach on YouTube Live with myself, Heidi Veal, and Laura Gilchrist. I'm Elizabeth Bostrick, and I'm a teacher in New York. I'm passionate about empowering learners to foster a culture where innovative thinking flourishes and all students shine. Tonight, we're excited to welcome Bethany Hill, who's a lead learner at Central Elementary in Cabot, Arkansas, and an official Energy Bus Leadership Journey Model Campus. She's also the creator of Joyful Leaders on Twitter. Heidi, please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Heidi Veal, and I'm the Early Childhood Literacy and Program Administrator in Louisville ISD in North Texas. And I, along with Liz and Laura, co-founded and co-lead LeadUpTeach and ECE Chat also. I'm passionate about leadership and innovative learning, certainly early childhood education and ECE Chat. Laura, before we dive into the interview, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm Laura Gilchrist. I'm an instructional coach in Kansas City. Longtime teacher, middle school science and social studies for 20 years. Third year as a coach. I'm passionate about designing learning experiences at schools and cities around our kids so they walk confidently into their futures. Bethany, we're super excited to have you here tonight and have you back. By the way, Bethany's username on Twitter is @BethHill2829. I remember that for some reason. And her website is BethanySHill.com. And I don't know why, because the 2829, it just sticks with me. So Bethany, we are so ready to be inspired by you. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, ladies. My name is Bethany Hill, and I am here in Arkansas. I am a lead learner in a P4 school, Central Elementary, and it's in the Cabot School District. We're about 30 minutes from Little Rock, Arkansas. That's how I have to describe it to everyone, because a lot of people aren't familiar with Arkansas, but we are a suburb of the capital city. So I have about 500 students, and about 200 of those are below the age of 6, because I have a lot of pre-K kids in my building, and that's such a fun experience. I have been in education for about 18 years, and I've taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. I've been a curriculum coach and an assistant principal, and now principal of a building. This is my 4th year to be there, and it has been such a great experience. We became an Energy Bus school. This is our 2nd year as a model campus, and we were actually the very first Energy Bus school ever. We started the program with John Gordon, so we're very proud of that.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Well, welcome, Bethany. And we also want to give a special welcome to our LeadUpTeach audience here on YouTube. And we invite everyone to use the hashtag LeadUpTeach to connect and participate with the chat both during and after the conversation.
All right. So Bethany, to get us started, please share a little bit more about your journey of what led you to be the inspiring educator that you are today.
Well, I've always seen myself as a teacher. Even when I was about 7 years old and I taught my stuffed animals in the living room. That's always been a goal. And I was the first person in my family to graduate from college and to get higher education. And so that's something I'm very proud of. My parents pushed me and supported me in spite of the financial situation that we grew up in, or that I grew up in. And so that's been part of my story and part of my passion for kids who live in poverty too. But in 2013, I went to Hawaii on fall break, and I took a book with me to read on the beach. And that book was One Word That Will Change Your Life by John Gordon. And I read it, and I thought, because I always make those resolutions and don't always follow through with those. And so I reread it again right before New Year's. And after looking through journals and looking through, devotionals and prayer notes that I had made, I picked my one word for 2014, and that word was inspire. And so that's really where it kind of all started. I started getting connected on social media more than just on a personal level, but on a professional level, and started connecting with people all over, and established a Twitter account for my school at the time where I was an assistant principal, and realized that there were people just starving for positivity out there. And we have a lot of negative talk in education. And, if we do make the news, if education does make the news, it usually tends to be negative. And so educators, I work in a very, very strong district, and we are very blessed, but not all districts are that way. And when I started making connections with other teachers, other educators in other districts, I realized that there was so much burnout and stress and lack of support all over. And so it just made me more motivated to try to push that positivity out more intentionally, not just sharing things personally, but sharing things professionally as well on social media. And so it just sort of evolved over the last few years. And of course, that's how the hashtag Joyful Leaders came about, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I kind of feel like it's, is to find ways to to be intentional about inspiration and about motivating other people, especially the people in my physical circle, because I know those people so well and know how to provide that support. But in the virtual world, I shoot things out there, and I never know who might need it, but I know someone does. So that's kind of how I see it.
So beautiful. I will just say that I love the Joyful Leaders hashtag and the things that you post, and just to know who you are behind that, the integrity and the beauty behind that is wonderful. Our listeners and viewers can see that. So Bethany, when you were last here, that was back in May of 2016, you shared a lot about something we're all really passionate about, which is teacher empowerment and teacher leadership. Tonight, we would love to hear what's evolved for you since then.
Well, since then, I have had more experience as a lead learner in a building, and the importance of teacher empowerment has risen to the very top of my priority list. And the most important thing that we can do is to honor teachers as lead learners of their classrooms. And not all teachers see themselves as leaders. When I hear someone say, "Oh, I'm just a teacher," they're not going to listen to me. The people at Central know that they are not to say, "I'm just a teacher," because that's just not okay. To me, the teacher is the most powerful position in the education profession, because there are people in administrative roles who have titles attached to them, but they're not in that classroom every day on a daily basis. And so the teacher needs to feel empowered to make decisions that are best for her classroom, for his classroom, and administrators have to support that. And so that's kind of my push and my mantra for even teachers who don't feel comfortable stepping up into that leadership role, or don't feel comfortable sharing their voice, or don't feel like they have anything to share, is to step in and provide the support, and kind of just help them realize that they have great things to share. And so over the last few years of me being a principal at Central, that's what we've worked on. And it's gotten to where more and more teachers facilitate meetings. And we just kind of, my co-principal and I, we just sort of sit back and listen a lot. And that's amazing. I've had a teacher write a book. We have some teachers who blog now. And the biggest thing this year that we've just kicked off is the Observe Me movement. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys have seen that, the hashtag Observe Me. It's all over Twitter, and Teacher to Teacher, they push it a lot. And it's based on Robert Kaplinsky's work. And so we talked about it all last year, and it was very scary to a lot of people to think about just anyone, wandering through their classroom and observing for a few minutes and then giving feedback on top of that. So what we did this year, the second 9 weeks, we all made observe me goals to post outside of the classrooms. But what we did is we started with strengths first. And so every teacher thought of an area where they felt really strong, and that way they could offer that up for someone who didn't feel so strong. And so that helped with confidence. And I have a few new teachers in my building, and we did not have them do goals. They aren't going to have people come into their classroom right now. They're just going to go out and visit. So that has been huge, because it's opened the door for more conversation, and the feedback piece has empowered every teacher, because they're getting some positive feedback, and it's coming from their peers, which to me is the most powerful thing there is. So our whole focus on that is that a teacher's greatest resource is other teachers, and that is just the truth. We learn the best from each other, and sometimes the teacher right down the hallway can be the answer to a frustration or to a need for a child. And if we don't start there, then we're missing out, because that's the most that's the easiest resource to tap into. So the Observe Me piece has been huge, and I'm so thankful for that.
That's awesome.
I heard you say, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, I was just going to say that a lot of the teacher empowerment and all that you're doing to focus on the strengths of teachers has direct positive implications on students too. Like, that's the awesomeness of it all,
Yes, absolutely. And we've really been talking as a school tribe about strengths-based teaching, and really looking really, really hard at strengths and gazing at the weaknesses, because we have to know that those gaps are there. We have to know, and the whole talk in education is where are the gaps? What do they not know? Where do I need to intervene? That term intervention. And to me, we focus way too much on that. And sometimes administrators, we tend to do that to teachers too. We tend to automatically, that our brain tends to go to the pessimistic side unless we intentionally push for positivity. Hi.
Sorry, gotta go.
And so that was cute, a little cameo. But we tend to look at the first. And sometimes our families do that too, the families of our kids. And so I think when we can start with strengths first, with our kids and with our staff too, with each other, then we're more likely to motivate and to build confidence and to build voice than we are at starting with their weaknesses. So that's a huge piece that we're trying to focus on at my school right now, because it is so prevalent to focus on gaps.
I have a question about how did you identify the strength
of teachers? Well, some of them were able to identify themselves to, as of what they feel good about. For the last 3 or 4 years, there are lots of leaders in the building who are known for something specific, and that's come out of conversations. But I've had to actually even have a conversation with some teachers and tell them, this is your gift. This is your strength. You need to share this. You're wonderful at this. People need to see you doing this. And so toward the end of the year last year, when we started talking about Observe Me a lot, and we had our summative talks at the end of the year to prepare for, school ending, that was one of the things that I talked to with a lot of teachers, and said, you can lead in this area because nobody knows that you're so great at this. So we need to make sure people know that you're great at this so they can use you as a resource. And so those conversations, the heart to hearts, that's what I call them, when we sit down together, just a teacher and myself or my assistant principal, and have those conversations to sometimes you just have to outright tell a teacher, you are so darn good at this and you need to be sharing. And I will expect you to share. I will help you along the way and I will help you build your confidence, but you have to share this because you can help other teachers, and that's going to help the kids in our building. And we have that our kids mindset. So we don't just have our class of 20 or 25. They're all ours. And if we can support another teacher in an area that we're strong in, then that's what we need to do. So
I love that. It's an excellent concept. So as a connected educator, you created the hashtag Joyful Leaders. Tell us about Joyful Leaders and what inspired you to create it.
Well, it's really kind of crazy. I'm a big time doodler and journal person. And I do a lot of that handwritten. I'm kind of the old school that way, even though I love technology. I do a lot of my writing just in notebooks. And I was playing around one day and kind of thinking on a possible blog post. And I just wrote out Joyful Leaders. And then I thought, and I put a hashtag in front of it. And it sat there for probably about a year in my journal. And I never thought about it again. And I always like to pull out my past writing and kind of look over it. And I happened to see it, and it was over. It was almost Christmas break, so it had been almost a year since I had written it. And I started thinking, we need more positivity in our profession. There's so much negativity and push things out there. I could just tack Joyful Leaders onto what I push out, and that could kind of be my brand. That could be me, And I didn't really expect it to grow when I did it. I did push a blog post out and kind of share my why behind it, and kind of what I wanted people to think of when they saw hashtag Joyful Leaders, when they saw me post, and encouraged people to use it. But I didn't expect it to take off like it did. And so when it did take off, I was like, wow. So it's been very rewarding to see. It's been 2 years now that Joyful Leaders has been out there, and every day I see someone new hop in, and or I see someone recommend it to someone else, and it's not a chat, it's not anything that you have to show up at a certain time. It's just this ongoing feed, and I get so much out of it every day, and I try to contribute as much as possible too. But the exciting thing over the last few months is I've noticed that non-educators have been jumping in, and it was all educators at first, but now I see some CEOs and entrepreneurs and
awesome.
Social media experts and things like that, people like that who are jumping in and sharing positive things too. And so that to me is it made me realize that everybody is dying for positivity and for a source of inspiration. And so it's really cool to go down that feed every day and see people celebrating kids, principals and school leaders, celebrating teacher leaders in their classrooms, districts and elementary school handles jump in and share successes from their school system. And then of course blog posts, and the One Word 2018 piece has been really cool. I've connected that with Joyful Leaders for the last couple of years now. And so the whole month of January, it's just crazy to go on there and look and see the why behind everybody's one word. And so I'm really, really excited about how it's taken off. And but it really hasn't been, it's really been everyone else who's jumped in and contributed, because I don't host a weekly chat or anything like that. Sometimes a slow chat question, maybe. But the whole purpose of it was to have an infiltration of positivity into the social media world. And so it shows up on Instagram now. It's a hashtag you can follow on Instagram, which I've never even thought about it being on there. So I see people post it on Facebook sometimes. And so it's just kind of just taken off. And I'm really, really excited about that. So.
Well, that's remarkable, Bethany. And I think it leads really neatly into this next thing we wanted to ask you about, to share about. Since you were on LeadUpTeach last, your school has earned a very special designation, and you shared about it a little bit in your introduction by becoming an official Energy Bus Leadership Journey Model Campus. Tell us a little bit more about that and the impact it's had on your school.
Well, it has been such an exciting 2 years. We started the Energy Bus with reading the book when I first came to Central. And we had also read it at Eastside, where I was an assistant principal. We had done it there as well. And so when I transitioned over to Central, I thought, what better book to start with to get to know everyone? It's a self-help book. It's not about school instructional strategies or data or anything like that. It's an investment in each person. So we as a staff, everybody read the book that first year, and for the first 2 years, we focused on the 10 rules for the adults and the 5 rules for the children, because every classroom had the kids' version of the Energy Bus. And we shared out on Twitter all the time, different ways that we were implementing it. And so John Gordon happened to notice a lot of our sharing. And I was contacted by Nikki Spears, who is the CEO of the Leadership Journey for Schools for Energy Bus. And she said, would you want to do this? Would you want to start this? I have this system. It's ready to go. I presented it to John Gordon. He's all over it. He wants to start, but I need a campus. And I was like, oh yeah, we are so in, and the staff was so excited, and they're very starstruck by John Gordon anyway. He's a hero of ours at Central. And so Nikki came out and met with me in the summer. She came all the way she's from the Houston area. And so she came all the way to Cabot, Arkansas, and spent the day with me one summer day. And we sort of had a little bit of dreaming going on and just how it might look. And she came back in August and trained the staff. And then came back a couple of other times throughout that first year to support and visit. And she was always a text away or a phone call away. And we just took it all in. It was so much fun. And so this second year has been more focused on student leadership. The first year was focused more on teacher leadership and kind of us owning those 7 principles that define the leadership journey. This year, it's been more about the kids owning that language, and that has been remarkable to see, because we've had a lot of kids step into leadership roles in our school, and the positivity piece has affected our amount of discipline referrals and conversations with kids, because we have the language to use to help kids turn the negative into a positive. So that has been huge, because the language is the same across the building. But this second year in December, Nikki came out and did a work session with 3rd graders and 4th graders, and it was all about goal setting, and it was remarkable. The kids were so empowered. She had them think about a personal thing that they love. It didn't even have to be about school. And so all kids had to kind of focus on that. It was almost meditative for a while. There was soft music. Kids closed their eyes. They were thinking. It was very, very focused. To see 3rd and 4th graders do that, it was just unbelievable. And then they all had to come up with a goal that they wanted to pursue. And it was amazing what the kids were coming up with. And one little girl even got up, and she loves to sing, but her goal was to actually sing in front of an audience. She had never sang in front of anyone before, only at home, in a room or something. And so she's like, I just really would want to perform one day. I just want to sing for everyone. So by the end of the session, Nikki had convinced her that she could get up and sing. And so she got up and she belted out a cappella this beautiful song, this 4th grade girl. She sang Adele. And we were just like, oh, everyone was crying. Every adult was crying, because the conversations about building that positive vision in their head and moving forward with it was so powerful that it completely consumed some kids at that time. And the rest of the kids were cheering her on. And she's a fairly new student at Central. She's only been there a couple of months. For her to get up and have that confidence was amazing. So, of course, I was videoing that the whole time, and you could hear my sniffling in the background. But I put it on our YouTube, our school YouTube channel, and John Gordon got a hold of it, and he pushed it out and shared it with everyone, you know, with all of his followers. So I think the video has had like 7,000 or 8,000 views, you know, so far, of this little 4th grade girl, you know, just who decided that she was going to go for it one day. Yeah. So we were so excited that day to see the kids own, you know, teacher story. And I think a lot of them realized that day that they actually they had a lot more control over their future than they first thought, because you know, they feel like everyone's telling them what to do all the time because they're kids, but they actually do have a lot of control and a lot of power on how they see the world and the goals that they set and how they want to make a difference. So it was amazing. And that's been the greatest part of the Energy Bus language and consistency with that, and the support we get behind the scenes with Nikki. So I would recommend it to anyone, to every school. It should be at every school, I think.
I can sense the impact that it's had on you. Yes. And it appears that it has impacted the mindsets of the kids and the teachers. Yes. And I bet, do you hear, what are some of the things you hear around school from the kids and teachers? Just the common.
Well, the biggest thing is creating a positive vision and being the driver of your own bus. And so those are conversations that we can look, you know, kids will hold each other accountable and say, hey, you need to build a positive vision. This is not, you know, if you just keep thinking of bad things, then bad things are going to keep happening, you know, and you'll hear kids coaching each other up. And I know last year I had a student in my office, and we were talking, and she was just having a horrible day and had to come out of the classroom for just a little bit. And everything was negative. And it was a blame of all of everyone around her. It was everyone else's fault because, you know, she was in a bad mood and she was irritated. And I said, who is the driver of your bus? And she went, and she listed our bus driver's name. The kid. He's like, you know who he is. He's our bus driver, you know. And I was like, no. Let's come back and think about
your bus.
Yes. Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's me. I'm the driver of my bus. You know? And so funny. But now it's ingrained in them to where those two phrases are the most common. Mm-hmm. There's a principle that we study every month, and there are 7 principles. So we don't start until September, and then the last part of the year we spend kind of focusing on all of them. Mm-hmm. But like this month's is transforming negativity. So you'll hear kids say examples of a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, because we've been pulling that in, Carol Dweck's research and everything, and the kids are very aware of that. We talk a lot about people who are famous, who've overcome some major things like Michael Jordan. The kids love Michael Jordan's story. And so turning that negative into a positive is a big common discussion in the building too. And even our littles, our pre-K and kindergartens, mm-hmm. they know what growth mindset is. They know what open is. They know what open is. They know what closed is. And so, so that's been really big too, to help empower kids, because like I said earlier, they always feel like someone's telling them what to do. And if they know that they can control who affects them and who doesn't, and how they see the world, if they choose to see it negative or if they choose to see it in a positive, in a positive aspect. So it's also helped the culture of empathy and tolerance a lot mm-hmm. in our school. And that's something that we are continuing to grow in, because of the children that we're seeing with so many struggles, with mental health issues and kids suffering from trauma, and violent homes, poverty, that kind of thing. Mental health and trauma are 2 of the biggest factors right now, I think, affecting our schools, and it's a crisis. And so the more positive we can be at school for those kids, because they don't have a future story and sometimes can't see beyond the struggle that's in front of them. And so I think teaching kids to be tolerant of kids who are having a rough day, and they might throw a fit or they might need to climb under a table for a little bit, but it's because that's what they need to do to take care of themselves at that moment, and not to be ridiculed, not to be made fun of, not to be labeled the bad kid, that kind of thing. So that's our kind of our focus this year with kids, is that empathy and tolerance piece too, and that's part of being a leader.
What a gift that you're giving them that will go with them into their future. And it's a tangible metaphor. They can always go back to the bus. They can put it all together in that.
Yeah.
So would you please tell us, how can educators around the world begin to create an energy bus culture in their own classrooms or schools?
Well, the first thing that I would suggest to do before, the website, the Energy Bus for Schools website, has great resources and can show you how to get connected with Nikki Spears. And she's on Twitter as well. Energy Bus for Schools is on Twitter. So I would suggest definitely following those, the social media sites. They have a Facebook page and everything too. But if you haven't read The Energy Bus by John Gordon, that's the first step I would take, is to read that book and to buy the children's version of the book too. Because it's very simplified and it has 5 rules. The adults have 10 rules to live by, and the children have 5. And the principles of the Energy Bus for Schools are different from those rules, but they combine them, and they're leadership statements, basically. And so I would start with that, and because I think that's what has made the transition to being an Energy Bus school so successful at Central, is that we had 2 years of focusing on positivity based on the Energy Bus rules. The adults did, and that spilled over into the kids. And so by the time we became the model campus, we were so ready for those principles, because the language was very similar, and we had that background. So a lot of the other schools have started from scratch, and they're having year 1 to read the book first, and then try to implement the principles at the same time. So, but as a teacher who is in a school, I know there are so many teachers out there who are in schools that have very negative environments, but they protect their classroom culture and keep it very positive. And I admire teachers who are in that situation so much, because that's hard. If the leadership isn't strong, if it's not a culture of us and we, then that's so hard for a teacher to go in her classroom or his classroom and build that community when everything outside of that classroom may be chaotic or negative. And if the adults don't have strong relationships, then kids see that, families see that, and it's very, very tough. But a teacher can build that community in that classroom, and that culture of positivity within. And I think the Energy Bus book would help be the biggest start, because the language is so general and basic. It's not rocket science. It's easy to implement, and it's easy to own. And it's a quick reminder to all of us when we're having those energy vampire days and we're feeling negative, because we all do. So, and kids come with so much baggage. And to be able to walk into a safe place and know that they can share the baggage if they need to, but it's not going to define who they are at school that day, and that's really important. So for those teachers who may be in that situation, I would focus on that, and probably be prepared to be ridiculed a little bit and maybe judged a little bit for being too positive, too happy, too joyful, too fluffy, or too peppy, because it's going to happen. And I still have that happen to me sometimes, and sometimes even very vocally on Twitter. It's happened where it's almost an attack a little bit, about being, not realistic because we're too joyful. And I don't believe it. People can try to convince me all day, and I just don't think you can have too much positivity or too much joy. So the more that we can share that with our kids and help them at least escape their world for that 6 hours, and and sometimes the teacher has that escape too, from the building culture to her classroom culture, and that's unfortunate. But for the teachers who are in that position, just don't give in to it. Don't give in to the negativity. And even if you're judged for being too positive, just keep doing it anyway. And that's the goal of being a connected educator too, is to get out there and connect with people virtually, if you have to, who have the same mindset, and that'll keep you.
Well, you can feel your positivity and the passion that you have just for teachers and students, and it's contagious. So I'm so grateful for you, Bethany. And with that, I would love for you to share one thing that you would like Lead Up teachers to walk away with or go out and do to make a difference.
Well, kind of going back to what we were just discussing, I think to truly know that you're going to make a difference with kids and their families, and even your colleagues, the positive mindset is the only way to go. And having that positive mindset and having the joyful disposition and joyful leadership of your classroom can be tough, because people will attack that. And so my advice for all teachers out there is to not lose that. Don't let anybody take it from you. The only way that someone can take it from you is if you let them. And people will try to suck that joy away from contagiously positive people. And sometimes we get on people's nerves because we're too positive, and I'm okay with that. I can be too much for some people, and I do know that, and I have to remember that when I'm around certain people. But the point is to keep going and to not be influenced by naysayers, because there will be naysayers, and there will be publicly, attacking naysayers, and there will be the ones who are subtle and passive aggressive about it. But just keep doing it anyway. And it really is about the children, and it's not about the adults. We have to take care of our teachers. We have to take care of our staff. But ultimately, we're there for the kids, and we wouldn't have jobs if it weren't for them. So we owe it to them to spend time with happy, joyful adults for at least the 6 hours that we have.
Imagine if we had a school and all the adults walked down the hall, smiling. Just, the smiling activates mirror neurons, and people
Absolutely.
smile. They need huge amounts of positivity to offset the negativity. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yes. And I always say, you never really walk past a person without acknowledging them, even if it's just a smile or a nod or a raise of your hand, but especially never walk past a kid without saying something, without looking at them, without acknowledging who they are. And if it's a group of kids, then scan all of them, but the moment we miss that opportunity and we walk right past a kid, and it could be detrimental. It could break them for that day. Or we could miss an opportunity for connection later when they really need it. So.
Good deal. So Bethany, as we're wrapping up today, we'd love for you to just share a little bit about how listeners can connect with you in the future and what's coming up for you.
Okay. Well, I'm out there on Twitter all the time. So please connect with me there if you haven't already. It's Beth2829 is Beth Hill 2829. 2829. Sorry, my email is.
I could have said that, Bethany.
Yeah,
I know
discussion, Laura.
Yes, it's Beth Hill 2829. That's my Twitter, and hashtag Joyful Leaders. I'm always on there too. Pop in and out throughout most days. So make sure and check that out. I do have a blog on my website, and it's bethanyhill.com. So if you ever want to check that out, you can. And I love it when people interact with blog posts too and comment. I love to have conversations that way. I am going to pursue, hopefully, writing a book over the next year. That's kind of my goal, is to get focused and really hone in on that. So maybe sometime over the next year and a half or two, I'll have something out there. I have considered venturing out into some consulting a little bit and some speaking. And so I'm kind of I have my toes in the edge of the water on that. And so I'm hoping to kind of put myself out there a little bit more when it comes to that. But I'm very focused on my school and my families and my community. And that's definitely where I want to be right now. But our school is wide open and transparent. So you can find it on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Central Cabot PK4. And the link to our Twitter is actually on my profile, on my Twitter profile. And then you can find us on Facebook and Instagram too. So definitely follow our school story. There comes my dog. I have to make an appearance. So you can check the school out, and we love for people to share in our school story too.
Well, Bethany, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I could sit and talk to you for hours. I loved how you're just so focused on the kids and taking care of them and their mindset for the future. It's just beautiful. I know our audience enjoyed hearing about your personal journey and just all the things you're doing with Joyce Leaders Energy Buzz. A huge thank you to our amazing audience on LeadUpTeach who tuned in right now, or on YouTube, or on our podcast, which will soon be up.
Yes, and we will share out tonight's LeadUpTeach episode on Twitter using the hashtag of LeadUpTeach.
And we are very excited to announce the date and time of our next LeadUpTeach episode, and want everyone to go ahead and mark their calendars. I set a reminder for it. Episode 31 will air on Thursday, February 22nd at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern Time. And we look forward to welcoming Dr. Joe Mazza, who is an educator, Penn State professor, and founder of Maker Dads.
He's awesome. Love him.
So we encourage everyone to check out the past LeadUpTeach episodes on our YouTube channel and to subscribe to the LeadUpTeach podcast on iTunes so you can listen to past interviews on the go. We hope everybody has a wonderful, terrific night, and thank you so much for joining us. Bethany, it was an honor to talk with you and just great to connect with everyone here tonight. So we're signing off. Good night, all. Lead on and lead up.